Black Widow is coming after her former employers. And no, I'm not talking about the Soviets. No, it's not S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm talking about Disney. Scarlett Johansson, the actress who plays Black Widow, is suing Disney over breach of contract because they breached her movie contract for the Black Widow movie. There's a lot of people talking about this, and I've watched some of these videos, but a lot of the people, whether they're fans or whether they're other lawyers, they're getting things wrong or leaving things out. And I'm gonna clarify not only a lot of the facts about this case, but the outcome, the actual outcome and what's going to happen here. Because I know Disney, I have friends and some of the inside information on people who work in Disney legal. I know exactly how this case is going down. So I'm gonna break that out to you right now and tell you exactly what's gonna happen in that case. Stay tuned. But in case you don't know, I'm Andrew Esquire. This is The Legal Mindset, where I help you be your own judge. So yes, today we're talking about Scarlett Johansson. Now, I've always liked Scarlett Johansson. She's a very talented actress and she's pretty hot. And I've liked her since Lost in Translation. I mean, really, I've always found that she's just a really great actress and she's successful in whatever she does. And frankly, all the Marvel movies were pretty great. She did a pretty great job in most of the Marvel movies leading up to Endgame, and I watched most of them, I admit that. Now, I even suffered through the super woke Captain Marvel movie just to get to Endgame. That being said, now we're creating an issue with this new generation of films, and Disney has really kicked it off on the wrong foot with Black Widow by screwing Scarlett Johansson. Now, how did they screw her? How are they cheating her out of her money? Well, it all is about box office revenue, because the old school model, the way Hollywood worked forever, was based on a percentage of the film's box office revenue. So if it comes out and it's a blockbuster, right, the actors and actresses, they're gonna make a lot of money, right? Whereas if it's a flop, they're gonna make a little, right? It's still gonna be a lot of money relative to the normal American, but not nearly as much. But here's the problem. The big R, the Roni Rona. Now, luckily we had subscription services as other platforms to put things out other than through theaters, but here's the problem. It's the contracts, people. The contracts were written for the old school world. They weren't written for subscription services. The other thing, and the big factor, is we don't know whether these platforms are telling the truth about their subscription numbers and their viewership numbers. That's a huge one, and almost nobody is talking about that. The fact of the matter is Disney could completely lie about how many views they got for Black Widow on Disney+. They could be totally making that up. There's no third-party fact checker. It's all us relying on them saying, yeah, we made X, right? And that's an important fact, right? So let's put a pin in that. But because Scarlett's contract was written the old school way and it wasn't renegotiated, right? You remember Wonder Woman 1984, Gal Gadot, right? When that went to streaming instead of the box office, Gal Gadot renegotiated. She got an extra $10 million out of that deal from that switching from box office to streaming. That was good for Gal, right? She did that. But Disney did not allow that. It did not do the same thing that Warner Brothers did. And because of that, because Disney knew what they were doing, they knew they were trying to cut corners. They knew they were trying to get that money. They knew they were trying to be profitable in a time when their theme parks are tanking, when California had them locked down. And well, frankly, they were really, really hurting for cash. They said, look, let's just put it to streaming. We'll make way more money. We'll cut out the box office. We'll cut out the theaters. We'll cut out the actors and actresses. And hey, this is pushback. This is vengeance taken out by Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson. Now, what is she looking for? She is looking for revenue to offset that, right? So Disney claims they made 50, 60 million off of the streaming revenue. So she's saying, hey, I'm entitled to that, right? I'm the star of this. I'm entitled to that money. Now, Disney says, oh, you're a horrible person, ScarJo. You've already made 20 million. Aren't you so horrible doing this in the middle of Rona? Well, look, Disney, you knew this was a time of Rona. You did this intentionally. In fact, you did this because it was Rona and because, like I've talked about in many other videos, right? Rona was an excuse for a lot of breach of contracts, right? Because Rona was what we consider an act of God. It's something unexpected, right? So a lot of people could get out of contracts. But regardless, there's still equitable principles that apply to contracts. And you're not going to allow Disney to be unjustly enriched. That's an important term, unjust enrichment, right? You're not going to allow Disney to be unjustly enriched by that breach of contract. That's not equitable, right? And the court is going to look at that factor. They're going to look at the fact that, hey, Disney, you had the opportunity to renegotiate. You had the opportunity, because of the changed circumstances, to modify the contract, and you chose not to, right? The structure of the contract was looking exclusively at box office sales, and you intentionally took this action to go around that. That's called bad faith. Now, like I said, the other big thing is those subscription numbers, those viewership numbers for the movie on Disney+. If Disney goes to trial, now this is, at this point, it's just a complaint. It's just filed, right? The suit hasn't even started. This is the first step. But if it goes to what's called discovery, which is the next step, right? And they start doing fact finding, they start looking into this, and they discover that Disney was lying about their subscription numbers, they could be in a whole world of trouble. Not just for the case, but also with their investors, with their stockholders, right? If you look behind the mouse's skirt, you don't want to know what you see, because it's awfully scary down there in the House of Mouse. And you got to remember, Disney has settled with almost everybody, from the wrongful deaths. Remember the alligator that ate the baby in the lake at Magic Kingdom? Remember that, guys? Yeah, you didn't hear much about that case, right? Because it's settled. Almost everybody else who's ever brought a case against Disney has settled. Disney has excellent lawyers, and they will do whatever it takes to bring this to settlement. Even if they have to pay ScarJo the entire 50 or 60 million, they will do that in order to keep it quiet. The mouse is the king of hush money, which is partly why I think ScarJo is kind of genius for doing that. She knows Disney's gonna settle. She knows Disney's gonna give a payout, probably at least similar to what Gal got, the $10 million. She'll at least get that. And the biggest thing is the mouse will not be exposed, because the lies at the House of Mouse do not need to come out, because there's lots of things they could find that could be absolutely crazy. And there's lots of things going on behind the scenes that Disney does not want you to know about. We're not even gonna talk about Star Wars. That's a whole nother universe for another day. But you have to understand that the outcome here will be a settlement. You heard it here first, guys. And thanks for joining me.